up, though, my G's? Y'all should know what it is. It is BKA Watts, one half of the Blurs and Clips podcast, coming at you right here from the Revolt Podcast Network. Hit the button. I don't know why I said it like somebody else was going to hit the button. Don't worry about it, though. I am delivering y'all another one of them flawless, repetitious intros. And, of course, we come to you by way of Pro3 ENT. Per usual, as always, sitting here with my partner in crime.
Hi there, I'm Clips. Oh, I mean, Bigatron.
No, you Blurs.
I'm Blurs. Yeah, I fucked that up. So
It's all right.
maybe we both fucked up. But you
I am
never mind.
completely fucked up.
That's personal shit. You don't need to tell the people all that.
Hey, man, you know.
Unless you want to, that's on you. But yeah, I totally tanked that. Anyway,
Listen, today, I'm going to give a special shout out to Michael Keaton. The reason being is that I, like he in Batman 89, cannot move my motherfucking head without my shoulders because I pinched a nerve in my neck. So, that's all. Fortunately, I'm in a cool-ass swiveling chair, so when I got to turn the VIG, I can do it like this.
your neck hurt from all that bobbing and weaving you was doing on the corner. Making that money.
Bruh. Hey, man, listen. For those of y'all who don't know, this is Blurs and Clips, our TV, movie, video game, or whatever the hell else we feel like talking about podcast. We will talk about everything except for y'all niggas mixtapes. Y'all already know because y'all can't rap. Vig can rap. I can rap. I don't do it. He does do it. But regardless, y'all, not good. We will be discussing a few topics today. What are they? Stick the fuck around and find out. Y'all already have heard words from our sponsors. I don't know which ones, but some of them. And you will hear more words from more sponsors further down the line in this episode. Right now, though, my nigga Vigga, how you feeling?
You know what? I got nothing. I thought I was going to be able to say something real snappy and asshole-ish, and I couldn't even think of nothing. Because I didn't know where you were going with that. So, I mean,
Hey,
whatever.
That makes two of us.
Yeah. Blurs and Clips, y'all. Never miss an episode.
No. Definitely don't miss episodes, man. Like, listen,
No, well, you know.
there are so many movies. There are so many TV shows. And we be watching them hoes.
So many video games, nigga.
I know. But I can say watching to those two and then like video games and we be playing them hoes.
Yeah, I get it, but you just be kind of, making
I'll be
that shit
leaving the video games
right.
out.
So you do. So like I say, I know where your heart is, and it ain't there.
It is
It
there.
ain't
It's
there.
just for the retro games though. That's what it is. That's my problem. I'm so I think I got off the fucking video games at PS3.
I couldn't even imagine you having a PS3.
Exactly.
Oh, so you mean you got off really at the end of the life cycle of PS2 then?
Low key.
Okay.
Yeah, for real.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm thinking hard. Like I've had like one of every system. I want to say PS3 would have been the last one, and I barely played anything on that joint for real that I can even remember.
It's unfortunate.
Hey man, shit be happening. Xbox blowing niggas up on Halo. I always felt like that shit was slow and clunky though.
I mean, maybe I don't play first person shooters, but
I'm not really a fan of them either for real.
But life be coming at you fast, so I don't know. You had a kid and all that other shit, so I don't know. You got some growing up to do.
Yeah, nigga, shit definitely be changing. Not doing that shit again. I can tell you that much. I'm trying to think what games I really, really fuck with.
See, and that's your problem because it depends on what system, and I don't think you stuck with anything enough. Well, you could have favorites. I mean, mind you can have favorites. That's totally fine.
For sure.
I mean, I have plenty of favorites from old systems and everything, and I don't want to make it seem like I get every system because that's generally not the truth. Like I've not had a Nintendo system since the Nintendo 64. I have not had. Well, I basically had damn near all of the Sega systems except for. Well, let me not say that. I've only had Genesis, Saturn, and Dreamcast at some point, but I even got the Saturn and Dreamcast in the later part of their life cycle. So it was like, oh, it's already dead and gone, and then I bought some and had it. But I mean, outside of that, I've been nothing but PlayStation for the most part all the way through. So I've had 1 through 5, but yeah, I don't want to seem like it was a whole bunch of stuff, but I mean, I've still played other people's systems and other things, and then especially with having something like PlayStation and with the integration of you being able to play a bunch of stuff online and get old games. Like I've gotten a bunch of retro stuff that I've had
Mm-hmm.
in the past, or stuff that was at the arcade. See, that's a big part of anything, because I've had so many collections of stuff that got put on PlayStation that were part of that. Like they even had the Sega Genesis collection on PS4 and PS5 or whatever. Still in between both of them, but me having that, and yeah, they even had a PS3 because they had a disc version of it too. So like virtually all of the majority of the games that I loved on Genesis, I got to play on my PlayStation years later anyway. So it was still a cool way to not even necessarily have to pull up my old stuff. And I mean, if you want Nintendo, you got to do Nintendo. But I mean, between that and like I said, so many of the arcade shits, I've done that. Because did you ever play in any capacity Double Dragon?
Yeah.
All right. So the relevance of this is I've had the arcade versions on my PlayStation for a few years. I kept trying to play it at first. It was like some slowdown maybe on the PS4, but I tried playing them recently on my PS5. Didn't really get a bunch of slowdown. Everything was cool. But the one thing that I realized, and I realized this with a lot of other of those retro games that were in the arcade that you play them at home, since it doesn't cost you anything, it's amazing how fucking cheap a lot of that shit was just to keep getting you to put quarters in it. And me going through Double Dragon and Double Dragon 2, that shit was not fun because of how fucking cheap that shit is. I didn't realize how whack that shit was until then, and I used to be obsessed with that game. That used to be one of my favorite games to see in the arcades and everything, and couldn't wait for it to get a home version. And now finally, 30 years later, finally playing, that shit is awful.
No, for sure. I think so. Let's go back to my dark childhood and shit. So I have a connection with all the arcade games because after my parents split, a lot of the times when my father would come get us, he would just take us to the theater, and the theater that used to be down the street was at Loman's Plaza. Yeah, down the street. So yeah, when it was Loman's Plaza and they had the theater in there, they had an arcade section in that joint. So he used to just take us up there.
That is right. You would have been a kid during that period. Anyway, continue.
Yes. So he would take us in there. He'd get like 2 rolls of quarters, give them to us, and just say go. And we'd go until we ran out of quarters. So all the arcade games got like from that time is like in there. So I fucked with the arcade game super hard. I only fucked with the shooters having like in the arcade version of having the gun. So I never liked playing them bitches with a controller. I liked being able to point at the zombie and shoot his fucking face off. You know what I'm saying? Right. Not having to do it with the sticks. I think that's what makes me not like them bitches, because I got so used to playing them like that. With the, you know what I'm saying? Like that made a difference. And then so like, because that was the only thing that we got, like that was what that was. So like niggas was playing fucking, what was that goofy ass game with the biker mice and shit?
What is it, Biker Mice from Mars?
Yeah.
I thought that was like a show where I know they had.
It was a Biker Mice from Mars joint. There was a Ninja Turtles joint in the arcade. There was, of course, like the Mortal Kombat's, Street Fighters. All of those joints was in the arcade, and we used to go in there and play the fuck out them shits, and until we ran out of quarters.
I seriously still kind of hate the fact that you missed the heyday of arcades for real. Outside of like stuff like Dave and Buster's sort of bringing that kind of thing back, or like some of the amusement parks. Like I remember, like, going to Cedar Point and shit like that, and being in there. That would be cool, but I hate the fact that you kind of missed that, especially if you were going to Loman's and then like when Richmond and Randall, because Richmond had fun and games. Randall had fun and games on the upstairs and downstairs.
Never heard of either. Never heard of it.
Yeah, that was the regular. That was the franchise arcade that used to hit a bunch of the malls.
Got you.
Richmond and Randall were the two main places, and then Severance, and when they had the bowling alley, that was the other part where they had like a lot of the premiere shit. When like
I never knew there was a bowling alley in Severance.
Oh yeah, they had 2 theaters in there. They just had the regular 2 theaters. Then they expanded and they created another 6 theaters that they added on. They did, and then in the front, in the front when you kind of come in and where the fitness center and all that shit is, that used to be the entrance to the bowling alley. The bowling alley was under the mall.
That's dope.
Big ass bowling alley. They had lanes on both sides of like the way it was like squared off, and it was like lanes over here, lanes over there. But in the middle and all around it, they had all kinds of games and that shit. And that's where premier motherfuckers, like when they used to have shit like if MK3 came out or Mortal Kombat 4, like all the niggas used to be down there playing that shit when it was brand new.
See, we don't. I mean, I'm not gonna say we don't have that kind of shit, but it seems like we don't have that kind of shit no more.
Because the culture is different.
For sure. For sure.
It's better in a lot of ways, but that's what I'm saying. It's like the fact that...
But it used to make... There just used to be actual communal shit where people used to get together and go outside like and be places. So it's just weird. That's why I think like if more people really knew about it, and if it wasn't all old ass niggas and shit necessarily, like Gamer Haven would be more of a thing for real.
Right.
Because it's just like that shit is cool as fuck to just get niggas together and be like, yeah, nigga, we on these video games.
Yeah, and I mean the fact that shout out to Gamer Haven.
Big shout out to Gamer Haven.
Still doing.
Like I said, when I say old ass niggas, I just mean shit. Nigga, I'm 36, nigga. I mean, nigga, for the most part, when I'm around, this shit is, what I'm saying, this niggas my age and older. Like we out here.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, that is right now what a lot of the sector is in Gamer Haven, because they're doing a lot of tournaments and stuff. So like a lot of them are in there playing either Street Fighter or Tekken 8. But I mean, then now with NCAA football, a bunch of other stuff like that, but they still have it all sectioned off where it's like you could play anything down there if you want to. So I'm trying to make it more. I've been down there a couple of times. Like I said, it's awesome. They be selling, ramen and all shit like that. So shout out to Robert Gatewood, Gamer Haven.
You already
Please
know.
Google that. And
yeah,
if you're in the Cleveland area,
right.
Obviously let me specify, because we're worldwide, wide, thanks to revolt. Anyway,
yeah, pretty much.
But if you're in the Cleveland area, it's definitely something to celebrate and participate in, because he's based out of the Collinwood area, and it's like really homegrown, built up things, and black entrepreneurs and all that. It's a nice spot. But anyway, so. That being said, but yeah, the whole thing about being in the arcades at that time, like that used to be the shit. When I was in high school and we used to go see movies all the time, that would be the whole thing. We went to Richmond all the time. So like, I remember the day that it was the weekend that we saw Terminator 2. We went to go see, I think we went first to see Naked Gun 2.5. Laughed our ass off in that, and then left from there, went to go see Terminator 2, and then probably after that, like we normally would do, we went to Fun and Games for a while, played some shit, and then hopped our ass back on the bus and went back home and shit. It used to be the shit.
No, that shit really do sound dope, and we and the homies never did that. Like we was outside, we somewhere hooping, but when we were inside though, at somebody's crib, we was on one of the systems. Now, so like fortunately, like the homies that stayed right down the street, so like we were on like 213, the homies stayed on 209. We were a couple blocks down the street.
Right.
We had every Nintendo system. I still have every Nintendo system over here on the wall, like behind us. Like I have the original NES. I have the Super Nintendo, one of the original ones, not one of the shrunken down small joints. And I have the Nintendo 64. I also have the GameCube over here, and I have almost every handheld Nintendo system ever over on this shelf. So I guess if I were to say anything, like we always were a Nintendo house.
Right.
So I remember being little as shit and the whole house of grown-ups getting fucked up trying to beat Mario and calling me in the room to come beat a level. Like, and I got used to just, that was always what I did. So Nintendo was always the thing. Eventually, then Sega came down the line with Sonic the Hedgehog. So then we also then started tapping in with the Sega. So I got my 16-bit Genesis on another shelf behind us over here. I got my Dreamcast. Some of my other systems got chalked in a flood. I guess I could have kept them to still have the bodies, but I said fuck it. So that's why I don't have.
Replaceable now.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. That's why I don't have the Sega Saturn. That's why I don't have. That's why I don't have my original Xbox, my PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2. I had all of those. Those all got chalked in the flood, but those all came
one for setup purposes. I have an extra PS2, like one of those slim ones.
Oh yeah. No, look, certainly take that. So, but with all that being said, though, anything that was Nintendo related, everybody came to my crib to play, and anything that was PlayStation, we went down to the homie's crib and played. So like, we was on Smash Bros. No Diddy. We was on Mario Kart, Mario Party. We was on you know what I'm saying, any of those types of joints. We everybody was at my crib, but when we was on like 2K and NBA Street Volume 2, which is still to this day my favorite basketball game of all time. I don't give a fuck how realistic they done got them shorts to look and shit and move around, nigga, the fabric and the materials and nigga and how niggas are sweating. Fuck all that. Nigga, NBA Street Volume 2, nigga, game breaker on your head. So that right there was like, nigga, we down the street. But eventually I got to the point where I was too good at NBA Street Volume 2 where I go down there and we start the game, and on the first possession, nigga, I get a fucking game breaker and score on the nigga and send them into the negative on the points, and they'd kick me out. So, like, or they'd make me stop playing. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, I realized maybe I shouldn't do this.
See, that's the type of shit that pisses me off. This isn't a challenge because I don't profess to be great at Volume 2 because I don't think I've played anything but the computer. Like, I've never played a human. Or if I did, I really don't recall. But just in the whole fact that so many times when I tried to get us be down here to play shit, and then the fact that I went and bought that newer, like original PS2, and I think I got a multi-tap for it. But the point is that that's always was in my head of doing that shit to be able to play Volume 2. But I don't know what the fuck happened to my disc. Not like I can't replace it, but I don't know what my disc is in my apartment somewhere. I have no idea where the shit was, and I used to play it all the time.
For sure.
It's there. But see, yeah, that's the shit that kind of pissed me off when you say that, not to totally sidebar that.
All I'm saying is, bro, like the way that the game mechanics worked and the way that it was set up, you know what I'm saying? Like the level of juice you needed to build up to get to a game breaker, bro. If you hit 2 of the advanced crossovers or moves and then dunked, you get a game breaker. Once I figure that out, nigga, I'm off the heezy, check your bags, maybe throwing a back to Papa, nigga, and then I'm dunking that bitch. So on first possession, game breaker. And then the nigga be like, man, get off the sticks. And it's just like, oh, yeah. I'm killing you niggas.
So I'm assuming nobody was playing with, created characters. This was just all just playing with.
Oh, yeah. No, we were just straight in.
Okay.
Because, I mean, it was just, nigga, fire up the game and just whoever nigga like it was, let's just get to it. So it was like that though, and I just fucked with Street Volume 2 super tough. So that was just how, I don't know, I just was kicking niggas ass, and then it was like, all right, nah, bro, you gotta get the fuck off, even though I was winning. So that was my shit. That right there is like probably one of my fondest joints of like the PlayStation era. There was that, bro. I fucked with PlayStation, man. Ready to Rumble. That was my shit. I
actually got to play that. I wanted it. I never got to play it though.
Definitely fucked with Ready to Rumble. Definitely fucked with NFL Street was a okay attempt, I guess, to do some shit.
I played I had the demo. Like I used to get the demos from PlayStation Magazine or whatever. So I remember playing it and it was cool, but it wasn't Street.
It wasn't like Street, bro. Like them niggas did something with Street. They overdid it with Street 3 because they made it like too realistic and took away some of the like fun of the like unrealistic elements.
Yeah, but you can't beat the style of Street 2, and that's why I was just like, I didn't even really want Street 3. It was like, I'm cool with this, and I kept playing it until I moved on PS3.
Yeah, pretty much. So like that was where a nigga was at. I fucked with Tony Hawk Pro Skater. I didn't give a fuck what system it was on. That was my shit. I fucked with Tony Hawk Pro Skater. I fucked with 1080 snowboarding. That was my shit. Fucked with that. So I feel like my like taste in games was all over the place.
Well, that's most people. I usually just give you shit about not being as current as you could be.
Exactly. But that also come down to nigga is like, am I about to spend X whatever amount to buy one of the new systems? No.
Well, for you ain't got time. You barely got time to do this fucking podcast.
Nigga, who you telling?
So anyway.
So with all that being said,
niggas be looking like fucking Blurs and Clips look just like the nigga that you'd be friends with on the PlayStation Network, and you look at that shit and it's like last online 2 years ago. And that's exactly how fucking Blurs and Clips look like. Last upload December 22. What the fuck? But anyway, but we here now. We back.
There are multiple valid reasons for that. But listen, neither here nor there. What we did do though, we spent the first 20 minutes of this episode talking about video games. So now.
See, and that's exactly why I said to you early on, just like every other time, you'll be thinking too hard sometimes. Because we come in here half-assing, knowing full well that we could actually cover a great deal of things or with some substance and ain't got to all pre-plan this shit all the time. Not saying that you shouldn't pre-plan people, because you should. Right. And it's not that we didn't have pre-planned topics. We did.
We actually did.
We did. But I'm saying, when I be trying to tell them, like, yo, we'll probably fill this time talking about these things. It's the shit that happens when it's natural. And that's the whole thing. Like, we ain't faking up here. This is,
yeah, you know what I'm saying? This ain't no BBL.
Having a real conversation about some shit. We're not pretending. I didn't just meet this nigga. It was like, hey man, we should do a podcast. Like, that's not what happened here.
No, niggas also didn't have a casual conversation one time and then went, you know what? This should be a podcast. No. That's not how this shit went. We also didn't say, hey, nigga, you know how to get rich real fast? We should start a podcast. Nigga, we have 1 million views next week.
Everybody be doing them podcasts.
Yeah, nigga, cause see, modern women's, they be wanting the nigga to pay all the bills.
That's true. That's true.
And really, hold up, follow me. You could be getting your women's to go 50-50.
But see, at the same time, my brother, if you a real man, you would pay all her bills and protect her the way she wants to be protected. That's the problem. Y'all don't be protecting women and don't understand why that they don't soak into their feminine side. You know, they ain't gonna go into their feminine until they see that they protected by us, brother.
By the masculines.
You don't hear me though.
Y'all ain't ready for that conversation.
So anyway, so back on kind of the video game shit. So I wanted to give this like brief little synopsis. I don't know why. I thought this was sort of interesting because I don't think I've ever told you about this. Okay. So back in the day, so just like you said, playing at home was one thing. So back in the day when I had an Atari, it was like, yeah, you had some kids I knew that didn't have Ataris. They would come over. I was a spoiled nigga. I had everything.
I'm about to say, look, I didn't get an Atari.
I just want you to know, nigga, you wasn't even born when Atari first came out. So anyway, so I had an Atari, and leading up to getting the Nintendo, it's funny to me how niggas would be like, Nintendo Entertainment System came out in 85. I ain't know not one motherfucker with a Nintendo in 1985. I didn't even get mine until 88. And I ain't even really know nobody that had nothing like that until about 88. I don't know how that happened. Maybe that was just black folks. But anyway, back in the day when I was playing Atari all the time, and like my mother would go over a friend's house and they'd be playing Pokino, shit like that. You're trying to figure out what Pokino is?
Yes, nigga. Okay. What?
So it's way more simpler than I thought it was, and at the time I didn't really understand it. All it is basically like you have a board. It's like Beano. It's poker and bingo put together. That's why I guess it calls Pokino. Okay. So what it is that instead of it having, you know, B7, this, that, and the third, whatever, it would be a card and it would be full of playing cards. And so you flip the playing card, you put your chip or whatever on the playing card, and if you get them, you know, same thing like bingo.
Okay.
It's Pokino. But anyway, so they used to play shit like that all the time. So I remember being over her one friend's house. We were playing Atari, and I was playing with the one kid that was about my age playing the shit. Do you know who that kid grew up to be? Of course you don't. But but here's the thing. So I will tell you this. I didn't put it together until years later when I figured it out, and then my mother confirmed it. The kid I was playing with's name was Myron. Any idea? You ain't gonna have to think that hard. I'm gonna tell you anyway. But
okay,
that kid that's Myron turned out to be Avant. R&B sensation Avant. That was him. Yeah, my mother and his mother used to work with each other at fucking Ohio Bill back in the day.
That is fucking crazy.
But I didn't know that
I
was
thought
him
that nigga name was Avant.
His last name was Avant. Avant. Myron Avant.
Ain't that a bitch?
Yeah. That's how my mother confirmed it to me. She was like, oh, yeah, I forgot what his mother's name was. But, yeah, they still all play cards and shit together. You know, like I said, all the girls that worked at Ohio Bill back in the 80s. So, anyway, yeah, weird fact. I don't know. I just want to throw that in there.
That is crazy. For sure.
Yeah.
Damn. It's all right.
So, yeah, I knew that nigga back in the day, but didn't really know him because by the time that he was famous and shit, I had no idea that's who he was.
That's wild.
And I forgot what it was. I think my mother had to point it out to me. It was like, oh, yeah, you know, blah, blah, blah. And his mother told me about him because she was so proud of him and all that shit. But, yeah, Avant.
There goes some shit for you right there, good brother.
Yeah, because I think he's probably like a year or two younger than me. But anyway. So anyway.
I guess that makes sense. All right. Today, beyond the video games, we're going to talk about TV and movies that done scarred your boys.
Yeah, you know, all right, so I brought this to him because we kind of touched on it before on an episode you never got to see because it was live to some degree. But where this spawned from, and I'm sure a lot of you can probably relate to, I happen to come to a realization that it's funny how we embrace or certain people push certain movies and things like that. And they're like, oh, yeah, this is so classic and it's, you know, a family thing. And they don't talk about how fucked up it really is. So, that being said, nobody wants to talk about how nightmarish The Wiz is. Everybody wants to talk about like, oh, Michael Jackson, Diana Ross, and he's on down the road. They don't want to talk about how that shit was fucking weird. Y'all's weirdos for not pointing that shit out. That shit was horrific. And as a child, no less, going to the movie theater or being forced to go to the movie theater, I don't know if I told my mother I wanted to see this shit, but I remember being in that theater and just seeing frame for frame so many things that just were like, when I think of my nightmares, it feels like I'm in The Wiz. That's how when I see The Wiz on screen, let alone a big screen, that's how it feels. It feels like a nightmare. The fact that you get this whole thing of this fictitious kind of like New York where there's like, I don't know, what was it, like 3 or 5 Chrysler buildings and shit out there, like that shit looks weird. When they fucking run into the Tin Man originally and the fact that, you know, he's sitting up there trying to get up and shit, Adita, like nigga, with the big broad that's supposed to be his wife on top of him and shit. This is nightmarish shit in a damn amusement park. This isn't right. Y'all know it ain't right. When they meet the lion and they walk up to the lion and the lion is already in the statue of shit and looking at them and shit, that's not cool, nigga. That is not like kid friendly. That is nightmarish. The fuck? For this nigga to come alive. Then you got the niggas at Emerald City and shit coming out of the walls. What the fuck are we talking about? You got the flying monkeys, the ugly ass monkeys on the fucking motorcycles and shit. Like, that's fucked up. Or no, let me back up. So the most nightmarish part, and a lot of people still, I've seen some grown folks talk about this. When they were in the subway, and that motherfucking vendor, do you know what I'm talking about offhand? Because if you say no, you know that's gonna end up on your your homework list, right?
It's on the homework list.
Jesus fucking Christ.
I was just waiting. I was letting you get your shit off, my nigga. Okay. I figure I would just, I would wait.
So how did you manage in all this time to not see The Wiz? I'm just asking, not that it's required. I'm curious. All the other fucking things that you would have seen or whatever.
I never saw the shit on cable. I know for a fact I wouldn't have seen it hit in the theater. I've never seen like a re-release,
well,
and I don't know
in the theater.
And I know it's not a joint that. I mean, I'm not gonna say that I know it's not, but I've never particularly seen it pop up on like home screen or suggested on any of the streaming services for me to be like, let me throw this hoe on. So yeah, like I never saw the fucking Wiz. Don't tell nobody, y'all.
Okay, so
But like niggas be talking about it so fondly that I never just be like, yeah, never saw it. I'd be like, yep, for sure, y'all.
I don't know how they're describing it, even though you say they talk about it fondly, but I can tell you that.
No, I just know people that be like, man, I love the Wiz. And I just be like, yep, for sure.
And again,
Michael Jackson.
As a kid, seeing The Wizard of Oz was one thing because you could see it on TV. And I mean, you couldn't, that was one of those things to kind of look forward to because back in those days, we didn't have a lot of shit. So something came on, it was like, oh, okay, cool. I don't know, it's fantastical. And even The Wizard of Oz had some weird shit with when she first landed and, killed the Wicked Witch of the East, I guess, and her fucking toes and legs curled up and rolled up under that fucking house. Like, nigga, that was weird, man.
Yeah.
So there's a scene. So when all four of them together, and, they're going their thing, since this is all based out of, their Oz, which, like I said, is kind of based in being in New York City and how they made it. So they go into the subway and there's this vendor, and the fact that Quincy Jones produced the music and everything for it, I think you would want to watch it for that reason alone, because like I said, it really goes well with it. But like I said, this is like, to me, it's kind of scary shit. I would almost, since you don't really have one at this point, but like, yeah, watch this with a little kid and see how they react to it. So it's a vendor, and he's got these two little dangling, like, I don't want to say they're not wacky waving inflatable,
arm flailing tube
mans, but kind of almost like that, and they're just bouncing. They're little at first, and so he keeps following them around, and there's this little music that plays and shit, the cues, and then all of a sudden they start bouncing a little bit more, and they get bigger and bigger and bigger, and then they detach from this shit, and they're basically following them, chasing them in the subway, and then like the pieces of the columns and everything in there start breaking off and following them, and trash cans and everything is following them. This is nightmarish shit. So that by itself, that was one of the worst parts. And then leading up to when they get to Wicked Witch of the West, and this witch, since this is all black, her throne is a big ass toilet. And you don't fully notice until, the whole thing of like, you get the Wicked Witch and, she gets water poured over and then she melts and shit. So they kind of did a play on that, except in her ending, she ends up getting flushed down this big ass toilet at the end. So you got all of that. So when they make it to the Wiz, so the Wiz is actually played by Richard Pryor, and it's a big ass silver Richard Pryor head in that bitch that talks and throws flames out of his mouth and shit. Nigga, how the fuck was kids like, oh my God, I can't wait to watch this over and over again. Nigga, it's fucked up. That's all I'm saying. That is all I'm saying. That shit's fucked up. That probably had one of the most significant things on me. I'm not even gonna necessarily add anything else to that. Like, I just want to say, yeah, the Wiz is pretty fucked up. That shit is fairly scarring. And y'all are lying if you say it wasn't, especially if you're of that generation.
For sure. I think there are a few things that fucked me up from like watching shit when I was younger. One of which I do thoroughly love, though. But at the same time, there are just moments that are, when I look back on them or think back to them, fuck me up still. Like, rest in peace, Kirstie Alley. But Look Who's Talking. Them movies were fucking hilarious. Like, great to me.
Right.
Like when I was a kid. I don't know how older motherfuckers or adults receive them, but I would have to say at least moderately decent because they made quite a few of them.
No, they did. I used to enjoy them.
Right. But the scene that I think of that particularly fucks me up was when the toilet was trying to eat Mikey's pee-pee. Give me that pee-pee. It was just like, no. Like, nigga, that shit. But that was intentional, though.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But it worked on me. On like a little me was like, yo, nigga, I didn't want to pee, nigga, for months, nigga. Like,
and that's what I'm talking about.
It's like, yo, that shit did it. You know what I'm saying? I used to be horrified of pee. Nigga, like, so much so, particularly, Mom, don't be mad at me. I used to go into the bathroom and pee into the tub. because I knew the toilet wanted to eat my pee-pee. that was what I knew. Wow. So for quite a while, you know what I'm saying, I would no bullshit, and this is genuine shit, nigga. I would fucking pee into the tub, nigga, and I had a dump truck that I took literal. So, nigga, like a literal, nigga. So that was how this nigga, after Look Who's Talking, fucking scarred me, nigga. So there's one example.
This nigga was taking dumps in the dump truck.
Now, if you tell me that's not sound childhood logic, nigga, why they call it that then?
He had dumps like a truck.
Damn. That's the name of the episode.
Dumps like a truck.
Dumps like a truck.
All right.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Oh, yep. That's the name of the episode. I knew we'd find it.
Wow.
Additionally, something that I could not bring myself to not watch, even though it terrified the shit out of me, was Tales from the Crypt. I genuinely love Tales from the Crypt. I thought the stories were dope as fuck. I thought they were creative as fuck. And I thought they were scary. And I've been a horror fan since as long as I can remember. And I don't even fucking genuinely know why, like, who likes to intentionally be fucking scared. The thing is, I feel like shit don't be scary no more. So I think that horror fans now be watching shit trying to actually get the feeling again, because typically horror movies is typically shitty, low budget trash, which is why something like Talk to Me last year was like so was so potent and effective, because it was original, it was creative, it was dope as fuck, and it gave some real fire moments, especially from some first timers in the director's seat. But for as much as I loved about Tales from the Crypt, I used to have to force myself to watch the intro on mute or leave the room while that shit played, because it was something that was like so fucking horrifying about that fucking music, and just the camera just moving through that dank ass, gross ass, cobweb filled, creepy ass crypt. And it was like, you know that this is some scary shit, but there was something that was playful about that theme music. But like, that's fucking scary, nigga. Like, it's scary that it's like playful, but you know that this is horror that you getting ready to get into. So they played those chords perfectly, like the selection of that shit, to give you that feeling of dread and terror on the way, but also having a playfulness to it, because that was the personality of the Crypt Keeper, who also was horrifying as shit, busting out the coffin at the end of that motherfucker. Like, the first episode of that shit I saw, I'll never forget watching it. Like, why do I feel scared watching this shit? And then that nigga bust out the fucking coffin, nigga. Dump truck. like, what the fuck? So, Tales from the Crypt intro always scared the shit out of me, and definitely had an impact on the nigga. And I think that, I'm not sure what part, like to this day, I couldn't tell you what part of The Exorcist fucks me up, but I am, as a nigga who, horror fan, who on one of these shelves behind us has The Exorcist on DVD, still wrapped in the plastic, because as I've said on the previous episodes of this show, I am too fucking scared to watch it, but I wanted to own it because, you know, real nigga shit. I don't know what part of that movie sits in my spirit that keeps me from being able to watch it, but nigga, I just know it fucks me up.
Man, look. At first, it was something I was going to add to, and I forgot all about it because you inspired me to think of something else that is way worse, and I don't know if I've talked about it on our show before. Have you ever heard me bring up the Singing Angels?
No.
Do you know what the Singing Angels are?
Double no.
Okay. So, Singing Angels, based out of Cleveland. It's a choir.
Hey, hometown shit.
And in the worst shit. So, any of you people that were definitely born in at least the 70s, maybe some in the 60s, depending on how old you were or whatever. But you know this, that in the 70s and 80s on Channel 5, when back in the day when channels used to actually sign off. Channel 5.
And then wrap up for the night.
Oh, yeah.
Static.
So when you're a toddler and Channel 5 wraps up for the night and your parents are already asleep and you're sitting there with the TV on and you know Poltergeist. So you know in Poltergeist when, you know, the screen gets, you know, all the damn, you know, the snow on the TV, as they put it, once it goes off. That's a thing within itself was already scary. So that's why that whole shit in Poltergeist, when the hand reaches out to try to get, you know, Carol Ann and all that shit. Yeah, that was very fucked up for me too.
Yeah, for sure.
Back then. That was definitely a thing. But the reason why that was even more of a thing, because of the fact that I actually had to live through that period where, yeah, I had to sit there and watch snow on the TV if my parents fell asleep, and you not a kid not thinking to get up to like, I'm gonna cut the TV off to be here in the pitch black dark on top of that shit. But anyway, before they would sign off, they would always end their night with the fucking singing angels. And this choir singing basically either like the Lord's Prayer or some other shit like that. Nigga, this shit is horrific. When we are done with this episode, I am going to play you this shit and have you be like, imagine you're fucking 5 and you got to sit there, your parents sleep, and this shit is on the TV, knowing that as soon as they get done, this shit is going off on top of that. Even still to this day, I get fucking chills, and nigga, I'm almost 50. Nigga. But anyway, like I said, it was something else I had thought of, but I tried to remember what it was, but I forgot when you were talking about that, and it popped in my head thinking about the Singing Angels, and I had to pull it up on YouTube. So for any of you out there, yeah, go on to YouTube, type in Singing Angels Cleveland, like put in Singing Angels Cleveland, Lord's Prayer, but make sure you find an old video that looks like it's from the 70s and prepare for that to enter your nightmares. I implore you.
That'll do it to you one time.
Yeah.
Fuck it. Yeah, man, those were like the immediate things that come to mind when I think of shit that scarred me for sure. The first time on Drop Dead Fred, when he went from like the little fucking ball and just like kept expanding to like scared the shit out of me. Fucked me up. Fucked me right up. Actually, I just watched a lot of fucked up shit, I feel like. I watched a lot of fucked up shit. And I actually just got a couple of Funkos that I ordered because the bitches was going for the low. But there's multiple scenes of Killer Clowns from Outer Space that fucked me up.
I don't remember. I don't think I ever watched that, but I mean, back in the 80s, I mean, I did watch a bunch of a lot of low budget horror movies and some of the trauma stuff and all of that. That was kind of in that same vein, but that didn't really bother me. But you know, when you say that, that definitely shows me that a lot of our perspective here, it really just depends on the age you were at the time when you saw it. Because I get what you're saying about the Drop Dead Fred thing, but by the time that I was watching Drop Dead Fred, I had to be like at least maybe, I don't know, 13, 14. Yeah. So it didn't have any kind of effect on me. I just thought it was like cool, and I thought Phoebe Cates was cute as fuck.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And nigga, I was, bruh. Nigga, and I was a stupid kid, and I ain't know, and I was just learning words and shit, nigga. Yeah. I swear that bitch name was Phobe. Right. Nigga, like, niggas all just like, I don't know how to say it, but like, nigga, right. Poby. Nigga, like, yeah, no, that was my shit, though. Rest in peace, Drop Dead Fred, too, because he passed a couple years back. But Drop Dead Fred was my shit for sure. Killer Clowns from Outer Space, like, it never gave me like a I don't know what people, I'll never understand people's like irrational ass fear of clowns. I don't get it. But I guess maybe that could have had something to do with quite a few people how they feel.
I think clowns are context specific.
Maybe.
Because Killer Clowns from Outer Space, I don't think would have did it. I don't remember that really being a thing for clowns, and clowns probably didn't really become a thing until by the time the original It came out, where people started talking about it more.
It too, for sure.
But yeah, I don't really.
But there had to be a reason. And yeah, I might say no. I would say that like clowns had to have been some kind of thing, perhaps already.
There was pieces of it because again, like I can think of certain imagery. Like I can think of like even in Pee-wee's Big Adventure, where there was like the scene where they had clown faces and it was kind of like he was having a nightmare and things like that. So it existed at that point as a thing, but I don't know when that really became a thing where people were like, oh yeah, I'm totally scared of clowns. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't either. I just know that in Killer Clowns from Outer Space, them niggas would they'd catch you. They would fucking nigga cocoon you in cotton candy, which would then start to liquefy you. And they would just take a big ass straw and just jab that bitch into the cotton candy and drink people. And that shit is fucked up.
Yeah, I don't know why I never ended up watching that. Like I said, the fact that I used to watch Toxic Avenger and all of the Living Dead movies and shit like that, that was like on that same thing of like being silly, but then horror. I don't know how that one really missed me. I guess it just
I want to say, damn, bro,
like I remember watching Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, but again, like I said, all that
that
shit in that
too.
same vein. It was.
I feel like that is inspiring me to get us a future episode here on the show where we get into some old school joints.
Anyway.
All right, so it is time. Homework. Vig, did you complete your assignment? We got to come up with a consequence for niggas missing the homework.
So yeah, as I mentioned on the last episode, which should have listened to by now, or should be listening to by now, I implemented homework. So then this is where we both challenge each other. We give each of our co-hosts here option of 2 different things to watch, whether movies or TV shows that they have never watched or did not take the time of, and they get to pick one, not tell us which one they're going to pick, and when they come back on the show, it's a surprise. But I can tell you this already. He already fucked it up and told me what he watched the other day.
It was an accident.
So in turn, I then told him what I ended up watching. So it's not a surprise to us right now, but going forward, it should be a surprise as to what we had to do. So we have already known that we've done our homework. I was challenged to watch either The Fall of the House of Usher or Evil Dead Rise. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, because I knew I probably wasn't watching Evil Dead. Because I just couldn't, I wasn't even looking for it that hard, and I know it was way easier for me to just watch Fall of the House of Usher. So yeah, I watched The Fall of the House of Usher. So far, I've only watched 4 out of the 8 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm getting through it. I watched the 4th one last night. So for any of you that have not watched it, you feel like it's something worth it's a mix between a story of intrigue and mystery, and then it has horror elements in it. Basically follows the Usher family, millionaire, billionaire types, very rich. He has a bunch of kids, and then this is no spoiler to it, but basically a bunch of the kids all end up dying under these weird circumstances, and it's kind of framed in a backwards way of telling how this led up to each of them dying and what's going on. So there's a whole lot of mystery, ethereal shit going on. Within me watching the first episode, I'm not going to say I was hooked, but they definitely had me intrigued to want to know what's going on going forward. So stars Bruce Greenwood is in it, who's grown on me over the years, because I think the first time I saw Bruce Greenwood was in the movie Hollywood Homicide with Harrison Ford and Josh Hartnett. Not sure you had to see it, but he was kind of like he was the cop asshole that was kind of the antagonist of Harrison Ford to a degree. They were rivals.
Okay.
But neither here nor there. He's also one of my favorite Batman because he actually does the voice of Batman on a few of the DC animated shit, specifically the Under the Red Hood, which is my favorite DC animated Batman movie. Dope as fuck. Basically retells the story of a mix between The Killing Joke, a Death in the Family. Death in the Family, where he kills the Jason Todd Robin, but then in the future, that Jason Todd Robin comes back as the Red Hood, and a whole lot of cool shit ensues. Very excellent. Anyway, but Bruce Greenwood's in it. Mary McDonnell is in it. I had to look her up again because I knew her from something. I remember her from Sneakers and Blue Chips and a couple other things. You probably recognize her if you saw her. And I can't think of anybody else. Carl Lumley is also. Those are the main 3 that are like veterans that I did recognize. There's not a lot of other people I really recognize within it, but if you want to be scared, if you want to, like I said, see something with intrigue, wonder where the story's going, wonder, all of the espionage and all of the backstabbing and things like that. Like, it's a very hardcore show. It's on Netflix right now, 8 episodes. Like I said, I'm 4 in. You should check that out. That was mine.
And I watched Rumble TV, which was done right here in the city, fortunately, which is cool as fuck. And I don't know how I managed to get this far and have not seen the shit. So it's by the homie Keith Collins, which is lit in itself, who's actually been on an episode of the show before. The background was this fucking cool. And so we probably need to get that nigga back on for another joint.
Oh, we will, because I wanted to get him on since we had Savior and stuff like that, and I think he may still be doing the campaign, so we definitely need to get him back on.
Perfect. Yeah, so we're going to lock him back in. So essentially, you have a reality show. Like you're getting like a behind the scenes documentary of a reality show of a nigga who is just literally going through life fighting any and everybody who pull up on him, says the catchphrase, and
gives them the card.
Right. Give them the card, say the catchphrase, and they want to throw hands because there's a cash prize at the end of the show. I had fun with the joint.
Yeah, that was the main reason why I suggested it, because as well, you know, the viewers don't know. I keep forgetting, we got to talk to the viewers.
Yes.
They ain't like the viewers are in
Hey,
on it.
y'all.
So
Fuck us
us being cool with Keith, in essence, I kind of met Keith through him when we used to do a film festival, all that. So I've worked with Keith on a couple of his films, but this one in particular, I went to the premiere for. And I went and saw it not knowing really what to expect, because he had another movie that I did some background in. So I went into this one going like, we'll see what it is. You know, the other one was all right, fine. I laughed way more than I expected to, because it is an action comedy. And I mean, it's cool because of the fact that it's actually done and it's acted out by a bunch of real martial artists within the area, within Northeast Ohio. And they do this on a regular, making movies with each other and things like that. But like I said, even still with the writing and the comedy that was in it, that's what really helped set it off, because it wasn't just them going from set to set with the fight pieces of it, but the fact that the in-betweens with the main character's father and mother and the people around him, his girlfriend, is like, it was extremely funny as well. And because, you know, what really set me off, I think what really tripped me, that I knew when I was watching it that first time, where I was like, yeah, you got to see it, when he was at that park and he was running from all them kids. And he turned around and he laid all the kids out. I was like, yeah, I am more than sold on this, and had to suggest this to you. So that's background on it. But yeah, continue as far as your
so
experience.
You know, I would say don't go into this expecting to see I don't know, like this ain't about to be the Raid 2 or nothing. All right, chill out. But it is dope. There are quite a few good fights that happen through the course of the movie. There's some serious tone shit that actually happens in it, which I actually appreciate their perspective. I won't spoil any of it, but there was a couple of things that had some serious spots in there that I was like, I fuck with that. And there were a couple of moments in there that made me laugh so fucking hard, because it was like, yo, like I don't think that niggas could have possibly, like, there were intentional jokes that I'm like, I don't think niggas really understand. Like, the right person, this shit is, nigga, I'm talking about nigga tickled, bro. Like, nigga, I was cracking the fuck up. So there were definitely some good moments. Just experiencing the joint as a whole. Like I said, I like the perspective of this is a reality show, but we're getting it from a documentary perspective. I liked that. It was like double Inception. To me, it was like, this is clever as fuck. So it was cool to see the whole thing play out. I thought it was a dope watch. I think y'all should check that joint out, because I don't want to say too much, because I don't want to spoil it beyond telling you what the premise and the concept is. But yeah, definitely some good fights. Definitely a couple of actual emotional beats that happened through the course, and plenty of moments that made me fucking laugh. Especially, like I said, telling Vig off camera, seeing somebody throwing hands and fight in the movie who I met in a completely different setting, and just thought regular unassuming person, and then see this movie for homework and say to myself like, nah, fuck that. This person beats ass. Like, and or could beat ass. Could have beat my ass. And I never would have fucking knew. until seeing this. So now it's like, damn, I want to reach out and be like, hey, you fucking dope. So
he's at least second generation. He's at least second generation.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I was about to say, did you ever see the short video of him and his father fighting?
No.
Yeah, he did this thing for I think his father's birthday, where it's a little short film of him sparring off with his father. Like, he was creative as fuck. It's cool as fuck.
That's crazy.
I'm gonna have to try to pull it up on his YouTube and show you that too.
Yeah,
That's
my.
It's only like a few minutes or so, but yeah, I think his father used to be a cop. I don't know, like in Bedford or maybe in Cleveland or whatever. But yeah, his father was a cop.
Mm-hmm.
He's a martial artist. So yeah, passing it on to Keith the second. So yeah, like he's at least second generation. That because him and MC Chill, because MC Chill was a former martial artist.
Was in the movie too.
Right. But yeah, he used to do martial arts back in the day. So apparently, that. So apparently Keith's father and MC Chill used to be kind of in the same circles in the 80s and whatnot when
Cool
they were doing shit. Like, I guess when Chill was still young and he was actually challenging people at different dojos and shit. Like, apparently, because I heard them talking about this when we were at the Savior premiere, and it was like, shit, you never know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, bro. Like, you definitely would never know some of this shit. So I think that was cool as fuck.
Shout out MC Chill. Shout out Young. What's up, Unc?
Yeah, you already know what it is, man. Shout out MC Chill, man.
Cleveland legend.
Yeah, I watched my joint. He watched his joint. We still are not off the hook for the other two that we need to watch. So should that just be, or should we keep them in the running?
You keep in rotation because you still got another one plus the other one that you didn't. So his other one was that you forgot about was True Lies. You bring up
right.
So that being said,
so True Lies stays in, and then you're gonna add one more.
Right.
Okay. I'm you know what I'm saying?
Right. So that way, format. As long as you are keeping up with something,
for sure. Okay.
So
I got you.
That being said, True Lies is his one for his next homework, but I'm kind of split between the two now, thinking of importance, but I think I know which one I do want to do instead. Because I was thinking about saying your new additional one would be you actually watching The Wiz because you hadn't seen it. But I don't think I'm going to throw that first. That's not as high priority, even though I do want you to see certain things. I think I could probably just show you scenes on YouTube or whatever to really make that
for sure
thing. So that being said, per our conversation, I got to ask you a question first for this to even be valid. So still at this date, from 2 weeks ago, you have not attempted to ever watch an episode of The Office. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So you have True Lies, or you have to start at least with episode 1 or whatever episode of The Office. Right. I'm suggesting starting at the beginning because, again, I think you may like it enough that you're just going to kind of go through it. Again, when I started watching Office, I didn't even start with episode 1. I actually was allowed to borrow season 2, and I actually started with season 2, and then I had to go back to watch season 1. Didn't make a whole lot of difference, but again, so those are your options. And again, if it's an issue with Peacock, even though you said you wouldn't keep Peacock back, I have every season of The Office on DVD except the 9th one, the last one.
Oh yeah, no, I told y'all niggas I was getting Peacock back because nigga Bel Air about to drop, so it's go time.
Okay, so yeah, so you have True Lies or The Office.
Okay, I don't feel like we ever talked about this. I feel like you had to have seen it though.
Well, only one way to find out.
Scott Pilgrim versus the World, correct?
We're really having this conversation?
Okay, I'm just making sure I ain't tripping. Because I feel like I don't remember us ever talking about it.
I bought that blindly from probably Walmart or some shit at that time, especially back in that period when I just got rid of cable. So anywhere between, I don't remember when it came out, but between 2009 and 2012, when I was just buying DVDs, I bought that completely blindly, watched it the first time, was not completely impressed with it, and then after it, and I know you said you pretty much hated it the first time, right?
I actually walked out.
Right.
I walked out the theater.
So yeah,
mid-movie.
I definitely the same thing. I remember watching it and being like, this is okay, but it did not grab me. But then after, gained so much more of an appreciation. So Scott Pilgrim ain't even on the table. Okay. Continue.
Cool. All right, just make sure I ain't tripping here.
Yeah, remember, Rumble TV is on Tubi, so you can actually watch something on Tubi that's not a hood drama movie. Rumble TV on Tubi. Check that out. Anyway.
Did you watch Talk to Me?
No.
Yes.
You know what I did watch? Oddly enough, I forgot to bring that up. I didn't say nothing to you because I was a little bit disappointed. I watched It Follows last week.
It's no like okay. Nigga, I think niggas like ranted and raved about it because because of the premise.
Right, but that's the thing. I saw it probably on one of those like Watch Mojo lists or something on YouTube, and when I saw whatever a couple of screen grabs or whatever that they show from it, it intrigued me. Like I'm like, oh yeah, I got to watch that, and I think I put it in my list.
Mm-hmm.
So then I was finally sitting there bored last week, and I was like, yeah, I don't want to play a game. I'm like, I'm gonna watch something out of my list, and I said, let me pick this, and I put it on. And I got a couple of those points in there where I see what intrigued me because I think I know the one scene that they showed in particular that I was like, yo, I got to watch that. And I was pretty disappointed. Like, it really
That's
wasn't.
unfortunate.
It wasn't terrible, but it was just like, that's it. Like, it built up. Like, I expected so much out of that based on what I saw, and I just didn't get all of it. I got a few things that were definitely like, that's the type of horror I like. But then it was like toward the climax, it was just like, okay.
I think it just had a couple of real potent moments, and the premise was dope. But at the end of the day, it was kind of like mid-tier teen acting.
I'm fairly sure that the thing that got me to want to watch that, it had to be the scene where she was in the room and old boy and her homegirl came
under the fuck. Nigga was like,
no. Follow her in.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. When that nigga came under the motherfucker, like, cause he was like 8'1", nigga was like, what
that was the shit.
Fuck, nigga?
That was the shit. When I saw that, I do believe that's what they had to show on that YouTube shit. When I saw that, I was like, nigga. I'm like, what the fuck is that? I probably got to check for this. And that was like, it wasn't the only, but it was one of the main things. Like, it was like they blew their wad on showing me that shit because that was like the best fucking part.
No, man. So all right. So I would say within that joint, like when they went to go pull off and get away from it the one time, and it was like an old middle-aged white dude standing on the roof, butthole naked. It was like, yo, that was like, yo, what the fuck?
Right.
Or like, and I also liked just seeing somebody wearing white off in the fucking ultra distance and just not knowing.
That's the
like
type of shit
it was
that
like
I like
butthole
too.
pucker, nigga. Like, you know what I'm
Exactly,
saying?
but that's what I'm saying to you. That's the type of shit that I like. Like, I don't like the, oh yeah, so and so got killed and there's somebody running around killing. Like, I don't give a fuck about that. Like, the Invisible Man was probably the closest thing kind of to that, but since it was since it had that sci-fi element to it, like that shit was dope as fuck, and I didn't expect that. But that's what I'm saying. I don't draw to a lot of horror because it's a lot of that. But that shit, like in It Follows, where it's like it's not about what happens, but about what you imagine it to be is what the type of shit that I like.
Right. And it was also that element of unless you got it, you can't see it.
Right. And that. And
so it's like it could be right there in front of you and you wouldn't fucking know. And so that shit was also, like I said, there are a lot of dope elements within the premise.
Right.
The execution overall was still like, but I think it's those dope elements and those couple of butt cheek puckering moments that make motherfuckers rant and rave about that bitch so much.
I totally forgot about that scene until I was sitting there watching it again, and I'm like, nigga, this is why I watched it.
Yeah, when that motherfucker, when he stepped down and came through, it was like, oh fuck, nigga.
Yeah,
and
he just came out of that dark like that.
Not even seeing the first kill, just seeing the body mangled after the fact. The bitch on the beach, nigga, with the leg flipped back, like, oh, the knee is going the wrong way, nigga. Like that shit was just or like when it was old buddy's mom banging on the door and shit, and it came in and like fucked him to death with electricity. It was like, yo, what is this shit?
Right.
So like the follow up is the sequel is finally coming out after forever and ever and ever. It's called They Follow, I believe. And I'm gonna fucking watch. Definitely gonna watch that.
Well, I'm probably gonna watch it eventually since I put the time in for the first one up. But yeah,
But yes, with that being said, your homework would then either be Evil Dead Rise or Talk to Me.
Okay.
Both of which I think are dope. I think Talk to Me is probably I feel like Evil Dead Rise is more dreadful. Definitely gives a more a more intense feeling of dread. Talk to Me is actually probably the superior movie, story wise. But they definitely do some real dope body horror shit in the Evil Dead franchise, kind of always. So you can't go wrong either way. But that is your homework assignment, Mike G.
Word up. All right. Okay. Well, I think that about concludes. So we are on the hook for one of those four movies. Well, two of those four movies split between us to watch on the next episode. So I guess we can wrap that shit up, B.
You already know what it is. All right, man. Look, make sure y'all tap in, tune in. Catch us on the next one. This has been another episode of Blurs and Clips, our TV, movie, video game, whatever the hell else we feel like talking about podcast. Y'all see how fast I can fire through that shit, nigga, because it's flawless and repetitious, my G's. As always, make sure y'all follow the podcast page at Blurs and Clips. Make sure y'all follow your boy, Becca, live out the Mecca, BKA Watts, and of course, my dog.
Vigatron 999.
And, you know what I'm saying, while you at it, go to Vigatron.com and download a motherfucking album or 3, nigga, because,
Because I don't make mixtapes and they're not whack. You might think it's whack, but they're not mixtapes and I'm not whack.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? That mostly covers it. What else? Shit. As always, shout out to Revolt Podcast Network for putting up with our debauchery and all the fuckery and the cussery, because they get sentence enhancers, just make everything a little bit better.
Fuck yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We'll catch you motherfuckers on the next one. Love, peace, and goddamn chicken grease.